Hello everyone. Now we will go to lesson 6.1, which is about arrays. Okay. An array is a set of variables with the same data type. It is not a data type but a data structure provided by C programming language. It is like this remote learning. There are array of students. Note, the teacher is not included in that array. A term called index is an integer used for accessing and modifying a specific element of an array. So in an array with n elements, the first element has an index 0 and the last element has an index of n minus 1. If you ask me why 0, because everything starts from 0. The score in a game, your age on birth, your love life, and much more starts with 0. Array is usually used in solving average, sorting numbers, variables of an iterative equivalent of recursive functions, searching a number, and much more. Array is really helpful in minimizing the number of variables. For example, your program will ask 10 variables and get the sum. So instead of using 10 variables, you can use an array with 10 elements. It is also good to avoid confusion. Okay, let's go to declaring and initializing an array. So declaring an array is like a combination of declaring a variable and a function. The syntax is first the data type, then the array name, and enclosed in a square brackets, open and close, is the size of an array. And don't forget the semicolon. So the array size is any constant integer greater than 0. For example, declaring a balanced array with 5 double elements is double balance, then enclosed with square brackets is 5, then the semicolon. Initializing variables has several ways. One way is to initialize it in a single line, and the syntax is data type, then the array name, and enclosed in the square brackets is the array size, then the equal sign or the assignment operator, and inside the curly braces are the list of values, then the semicolon. Okay, the list of values or the element list are the value of each element separated by comma. You can put the array size if your program is complicated, but you can leave it as empty or null if your program is simple. For example, double balance, then enclosed with square brackets is 5. Then the assignment operator equal, then enclosed in the curly braces are 100.0, comma 20.5, comma 37.5, comma 12.99, comma 6.66. Forget the semicolon. Then let's go to accessing the elements of array. Accessing the elements of an array is using the index. So the ith element is the array name, enclosed in square bracket, the I minus 1, where I minus 1 is the index. Again, the first element has an index of 0. That's why the ith element has an index of I minus 1. Okay? Printing and scanning the values of an array is through a for loop. And the syntax is for, then I equals 0, then semicolon, I less than the array size, semicolon, the I plus plus or the increment. Then enclosed with the curly braces are the scanf and printf. For the scanf, that is %d, then the ampersand array name enclosed with a square bracket is the I. And for the printf, for example, the %dth element is %d \n. Then the value of %d is I minus 1. And array name enclosed in square bracket is I. So, and close parentheses, and don't forget the semicolon. Okay? So the variable I is for the index from 0 to n minus 1. So it must not be less than 0 or greater than n minus 1. So note, scanf and printf of an array are not together in a single loop most of the time. It is better if the array size is a variable rather than a constant value. Now let's go to two-dimensional array. What we discussed previously is a one-dimensional array. Okay? An array can be multi-dimensional, but we will stop with 2 dimensions. If an array is like a group of students in a class, a two-dimensional array is a group of students in Math 153 where some of them are in different sections. So another example is the children with the same parent. If the children are the array, then the two-dimensional array is the children in with the same father but different mother. Another closer example of a two-dimensional array is a table like the multiplication table. It consists of rows and columns. It is usually used in making table of values in board games like chess, snake and ladders, tic-tac-toe, and more. It is also used in iterative equivalent of a recursive function with 2 parameters. So in our table here, we have n rows and n columns. So the rows are from 0 to n minus 1, and the column are from 0 to n minus 1. And our array is in every cell. Okay, let's go forward with declaring and initializing two-dimensional array. So the syntax of declaring a two-dimensional array is the same with a single-dimensional array but with another square brackets. So data type, array name, then enclosed with the square bracket is the size of the row. And enclosed with the another square bracket is the size of the column. So the first square bracket corresponds with the rows and the second corresponds with the columns. Don't forget that one, okay? So for example, we have here an int table, then 3 and 4, meaning we have 3 rows and 4 columns. So there are 2 ways in initializing a two-dimensional array. The first syntax is first the data type, the array name, and the row size and the column size equals. So enclosed in the curly braces are the values. But the values here are also in an array form, so it is too complicated. Okay, for example, we have here int table 3 4 equals enclosed with the curly braces is a set of curly braces. So the first set is 1 2 3 4 inside the curly brace, comma, then 2 4 6 8 inside the curly brace, comma, then the 3 6 9 12 inside the curly brace. Though there is a single line initialization of a two-dimensional array, so int table 3 4 equals inside the curly brace are all numbers 1 2 3 4 2 4 6 8 3 6 9 12. So we neglect the curly braces. So this is easier to write but harder to read as a programmer. So it depends on you. So to access the elements of a two-dimensional array, since this is a two-dimensional, we need two for loops also. So the outer for loop is for the row and the inner for loop is for the column. So that is for I is equal to 0, I less than row size and I plus plus. Then another for loop is another variable j equals 0, j less than column size and j plus plus. Then we scan f, %d, then the ampersand array name. Then the first value inside the square bracket should be I, which is the outer for loop, and the second value should be j, which is the inner for loop. Okay, so another same in printf. So %dit row and dit column is %d. So I minus 1, j minus 1, and array name. So always keep in mind, determine which is row and which is. Are you still alright with the lesson? If yes, let's continue with passing an array inside a function. So there are three ways in passing an array as a parameter of a function. First way is to pass it as a pointer, but we will not use it. So because we didn't discuss the pointer. Then another way is to pass the array with the size. So this is the formal parameters as a sized array. And the third one is to pass it with no size. So formal parameters as an unsized array. So declaring an array is also three-way like this, but we will not discuss about pointers. A function can also return an array, but for safety purposes, beginners must not use it. You can still have the value of the array from the function who calls it, because array is a pass-by reference parameter. Meaning, whatever happens to the array inside the function will also happen to the array of the block that calls this function. Okay, let's go to applications of array. There are several uses of array. We will discuss everything on the laboratory, though there is a need to discuss some applications that are complicated a little. First is searching an element of an array. So searching a value inside the list of values is easy. You will look at the list with your eyes and snap, you found it. But a computer is not like that. It is faster in searching than a human, but it has no eyes. So it can't look at the list as a whole. So do you have another idea on how to search a number? May I know what are your ideas, if there is? Okay, searching from the first element to the last. And yes, that's one. And it is called the linear search. But this kind of search is not good for a large number of elements. For example, you're looking for 20 but an array with size of 1000. The program will get lucky if 20 is on the first 50 elements. But what if it is on the 1000th element? Then you must feel sorry for your program. He is tired, but you can see it. Because of this reason, another search is formed. What do you think it is? Of course, you can't imagine because the elements must be sorted first before searching the value. Now that the elements are sorted, can you think of any idea to search for a number? If yes, congratulations to those who answered it right. The answer is dividing the list into two. The first halves are the lower values and the final halves are the upper or higher values. Then it checks where the number belongs. If the number belongs to the upper values, all from the lower values will be rejected. Sorry to hear that. The same goes when the number is in the lower values. It rejects the higher values. Then the accepted values will be divided into half again, and the process will continue until it finds the number it is looking. It is faster than the linear search only if the elements of an array are sorted. Talking about sorting and elements, let's go to sorting the elements. Okay? We will discuss three ancestors of any sorting algorithm or program. There are so many sorting algorithms like bubble sort, insertion sort, quicksort, merge sort, radix sort, counting sort, bucket sort, heap sort, shell sort, and more. But what kind of sorting are you thinking now? Are you then thinking of your way to sort the numbers? Well, don't think too much. Of course, we will do a simple sort. That is, finding the lowest number among the list and swaps it with the first element of the array. Then skip the first element and find again the lowest. And swap with the second element and skip again the first and second and continue finding the lowest and swapping until you reach the last element. So this is the function for swapping. So just copy it if you need to swap a certain values in an array. Okay, so no need to discuss this one. So if you remember the iterative Fibonacci, you will know the purpose of a temporary variable temp. Now let's go to assignment number 8.